Have you ever had someone comment on your perfume in a negative way and it completely burst your bubble? That is the topic of today's video. Welcome back, everybody. Today we're talking about negative feedback on our favorite perfumes. Sometimes when we really love a fragrance, we get really excited about it and we're tempted to tell everyone about it. And indeed, that is the premise of this entire channel. And not everybody is going to love the perfumes that you love, and that's totally okay. However, sometimes they can also innocently, and I too am guilty of this, they can innocently share their opinion of it and why they don't like it. And suddenly you're smelling the things that they smell and it ruins the perfume for you. And like I say, it's not necessarily intentional on that person's part to ruin the fragrance for you or to even get you to agree with them. But sometimes that happens, and I too am guilty of this. And it's why I do try to be a little bit careful when I'm sharing my thoughts or experience of a perfume on this channel, because it is a public forum, because I don't want to risk ruining it for somebody else. Probably a more recent example of me being somewhat negative about a perfume was in my last video where I shared my first impressions of the Louboutin à la Rose perfume, which has been really, really popular. And it is true that the more a perfume is hyped, the more critical I'm likely to be when I finally get my nose on it. And to be fair, that was a first impression. So first impressions are first impressions. But to be fair to that perfume, I probably was a little bit more critical and less balanced than I might have been if it was a perfume that nobody else really knew about yet, and if it didn't have all that hype. It's a little bit like Newton's third law, that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Anyway, it's all in good fun, and tonight I want to share some examples of perfumes that I love that I have had negative feedback on. Now, to be clear, thankfully, none of these have garnered negative feedback while I was actually wearing them. It's usually the negative feedback has come in the form of people commenting maybe on a post on Instagram or interacting with me in my DMs and telling me what they thought of a particular perfume. And then in the spirit of doing this video, I went and looked up some Fragrantica comments on some of my other perfumes, just to give us a little bit more fodder to have a laugh about. So without further ado, let's jump in. So the first perfume that I'm going to talk about is one that really sort of sparked the idea for this video. This one is a perfume that I have a very sentimental connection with, and I really, really love it. For those of you who perhaps haven't been around on this channel for very long, I got married in 2023, and we sort of went away and got married in the south of France with just a few select friends in attendance. And then we travelled around the south of France for a little bit, and also a bit of Italy. And one place we went to visit was a little place called St. Paul de Vence. And that was sort of special to us because we, my husband Matt and I, have a kind of odd connection, not connection to, but affiliation to Chagall. And it comes through music. So when we met, as a lot of people do, we shared a lot of music back and forth between each other. And I shared with him an album by the Weepies that I really liked at the time, and I still do. There was a song on that album called Painting by Chagall, and basically we went to St. Paul de Vence because that is where Marc Chagall is buried, and I wanted to be able to walk through this little town and see all the artwork, because I knew there would be heaps of his artwork around, and there was. What I also discovered was this gorgeous, gorgeous little perfumery, which was Maison Godet. And I did do an Instagram reel. I'll try and put some footage in here for those of you who don't want to get over onto Instagram and have a look at it. But it is the most beautiful little perfumery that I've ever been to. Anyway, we went in, of course, and I was sampling things and smelling things, and I had no intention to buy anything, because the other thing about this trip was we were trying to travel light. We only had carry-on luggage with us. And we also, in a couple of days after being in St. Port-au-Vence, had to fly from France back to Italy, and we knew we weren't going to be able to carry many liquids. So I was hesitant to buy any perfumes, but I tried on a couple of perfumes in the perfumery, and we left the perfumery, went out for dinner and went back to our Airbnb for the night. And I was smelling so good. Well, I thought I did smell really, really good. And I couldn't stop thinking about this perfume. And so I went back the next day and I did buy it. And this is Fleurs de Reine by Maison Godet. This is quite a sweet floral perfume. It is primarily tuberose, I think, maybe a bit of gardenia as well. It's been a long time since I've looked up the notes, so I'm not really sure what's in here. It's quite sweet, as I mentioned, but there's also a bit of an earthiness to it. Anyway, I had been raving about this perfume for ages, and one of the people that I talk to occasionally on Instagram mentioned that she was going to buy it, and I was hesitant. I always get worried when people message me and they say, I'm going to just buy it. I can't get a sample. I'm just going to buy the bottle. And they're doing it because I've talked about something. And I'm like, please don't do that. Please don't blind buy a several $100 bottle of perfume on the basis of my talking about it and without trying it first, because I know I will feel guilty if they don't like it. Anyway, she bought it. She bought the perfume, and as soon as she got the perfume, she messaged me and she said that to her it smelled like nail polish. And I was so horrified. And then I started smelling it and I was going, there is something about this perfume, but it doesn't smell like nail polish. I mean, I've really gotten into painting my nails a lot recently. They are currently bare, but I do usually paint my nails every couple of weeks. I was like, it doesn't smell like nail polish to me, but there is something about it that smells like another product. And I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And then suddenly, a couple of weeks ago, one thing I don't do very often is I don't style my hair that much. Usually I'll blow dry it, but then I'll usually just throw it up in a bun and or a clip or something, and I'm done. And we were going out. I decided to try and do something fancy with my hair, and I spritzed it with some hairspray, and I went, that's what it is. It's hairspray. It's not hairspray. This is not hairspray. This is beautiful, and I still love it. But there was a couple of days there where I was going, oh, do I maybe not love it so much anymore because somebody's told me that it smells like nail polish, and I didn't think it smelled like nail polish, but at the same time I was kind of going, it does smell like something that is not perfume. And it does have, somehow, it reminds me a little bit of hairspray, but it also has these beautiful earthy florals, and I still really love it. But I was really, really worried. I was too scared to actually go back and smell it for a day or so after she sent me that message, because I was so scared that suddenly I would be smelling nail polish. You know, I love this perfume because this is like, whenever I smell this, I think of St. Port-au-Vence, and I think of our honeymoon, and I think of our wedding, and it's just, it's like a flow-on effect. If I smell this perfume, I have all these wonderful memories, and I was terrified. But anyway, so for anyone who's contemplating blind buying Fleurs de Reine, if you go and see any of my other videos, I will link one where I talk about this, then just be aware that you may think it smells like hairspray, or you may think it smells like nail polish, but it's not enough to put me off the perfume. I still adore this perfume. And in fact, was it last weekend? Yeah, last weekend, my friend Ellie had her 40th birthday and we went out to a really fancy dinner. She had all her like friends and family there, and I met, you know, a lot of her family that I've never met before. And at the end of the night, we were all sort of saying goodbye, and I shook this man's hand and he goes, "You smell really good." Anyway, but we got talking about perfume, and I did tell him what this was, but he glazed over because he didn't recognize the name. But it's all fine. But the point is, I got a compliment on this perfume, and I probably have never been so happy about getting a compliment on my perfume, because in a way it kind of reinforced my adoration for this fragrance. Anyway, so that is the first one. I'm so sorry, that took a really long time. Hopefully I haven't lost most of you by now. The second perfume is probably one that really cemented this video idea into my brain, because I had a sample of this that I think somebody had given to me. So they had used a little bit of it. So I only had maybe half of a sample and it's very strong. So I spritzed it on and thought, oh, I really like this. And so I eked out that perfume sample for months. I was just having a little bit. I used to spritz a little bit on at night time, because it is kind of that was my intent, was that this would be sort of a nighttime perfume. I probably should tell you what it is. It's Unspoken Musk by Francesca Bianchi. I had this little sample, I loved it, I eked it out, I savoured this sample, and I was just waiting to try and get a good deal on it. Eventually, I think I gave up on trying to find a good deal, because there was no one stocking any of the newer Francesca Bianchi perfumes in Australia. And then eventually I gave up and I just ordered it directly from Francesca Bianchi from the website. Anyway, it arrived, and I spritzed some on, and I felt like an edgy seductress. Or as my friend Kim would say, I was really feeling myself wearing this perfume, until a few days later, when I was scrolling on Instagram. Somebody had made a post about this. I think it was on Instagram. They had made a post about this perfume. There was the big picture of the bottle, and I thought, oh yeah, I'll read that. They said it smelled like urinal cake. Gross. And then I went to spritz some on, because I thought, no, come on, that's a bit extreme. And I spritzed it on, and that's kind of all I can smell now. And I haven't sprayed it on my skin since that time. Although now I'm smelling it out of the atomizer, and it's not, I kind of get what they're getting at, but it's not that bad. So maybe I need to be brave and spritz some on, and maybe revisit it now that, you know, the memory of that has faded and I've had a bit more time. I can see what they mean, and it's still there. It's still there. Maybe it'll be worse if I spray it on myself. I don't know, but I can't get it out of my mind. So I feel like in this scenario, perhaps Unspoken Musk has been ruined for me. All right, next one is one that I haven't talked about for a while, and I haven't talked about it very much on YouTube, I don't think. This is one that tends to crop up on my Instagram. I usually post my scent of the day, and you know, if I post my scent of the day, this will get airtime on Instagram, on my Instagram, because I do like to wear it for work, or, you know, in the daytime. So it's usually, it's often my scent of the day, put it that way. This is Cartier La Panthere. And yes, I have recently tried the more recent flanker. I think, is it the Parfum that came out recently? I don't know. There's been a couple in the last few years, I think. And the most recent one that came out is stunning. Really, really, really good. But they're still similar enough that I don't think I need to go out and buy that. But it is nice to know that is available if and when I ever finish this bottle. This is quite a strong perfume, I find, so I don't really have to spray very much, even though I would happily spray lots and lots of it. It is a Chypre perfume and it opens with fruity notes, although, to be honest, for the first couple of years that I had this bottle, I did not get the fruit in the opening, but now I do. But it also has like a golden hay-like grassiness about it as well, which I really, really, really love. And I think there's some white and yellow florals in there as well. So gorgeous perfume. But I knew, this is one that I went looking for comments on for this video, because I knew that this had, it sort of had a moment, I think in 2020, when lots of people were online talking about perfume because we didn't have anything better to do. A lot of people were trying this and hating it, especially people who like sweeter scents. Let's just put it that way. So a lot of people who liked the sweeter things did not enjoy this at all, and they thought they would because of the note listing and because there were fruits in the opening and that sort of thing. So but a lot of people felt like it was too mature for them. I'll say it that way because that is the nice way of saying it, but let's just say there's been a lot worse comments about it than that. Anyway, I went on to Fragrantica a couple of weeks ago and dug up some dirt on La Panthere by Cartier, and some of the comments include, smells awful, like rotten dried fruit forgotten in a damp basement. It does kind of have a bit of a mustiness about it, and I mean, it is meant to be a Chypre style, and it doesn't have oak moss in it. I think they've tried to create the oak moss feel through the use of violet leaf, but it does have a little bit slight mustiness about it, I have to admit. The other comment is, I smell overwhelmingly like cat pee. It's such a strong sillage of animal urine, unwashed fur and rotten gardenia. I can taste it in the back of my throat. I think that's a bit harsh, to be honest. I don't get any cat pee from this. I don't get any civet notes or anything like that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there will be gardenia or something like that in here, because there is some really lovely white, slightly earthy florals. But yeah, I categorically disagree with that statement. I don't think it smells like that at all. But I will say that it has a slight soapiness to it, but it is quite strong. And when you spray it, I don't know if I'll capture it on the video, but I did spray it just recently, just a couple of seconds ago, and I can indeed taste it in the back of my throat. This is a strong perfume, but it's great and I love it. And I don't think any amount of negative commentary about this perfume will ever ruin it for me. So that's La Panthere by Cartier, still surviving in my closet quite happily. Next up, we have one from one of my favorite perfume brands. And upon saying that, you probably know what I'm about to talk about. This is Guidance by Amouage. Now, this has had quite the reputation about it over the last couple of years. Obviously, it had a huge popularity. It is still very popular. It is the most popular perfume at Amouage at the moment. And I went to the Amouage manufacturing facility when we went through Oman on the way back from Essence earlier this year. And Mark was taking me through the facility and he was explaining, that's where the reflection is made, that's where sunshine is made and blah, 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 blah. And then he's going, and that big one right at the back there that's bigger than all of the other tanks, that's Guidance. Guidance by Amouage. It is a very interesting perfume. So when I first tried this, I wasn't a fan. I didn't like it at all. I didn't like the opening, particularly didn't like the nuttiness combined with that fruitiness. I found it really off-putting, and there's some days that I do still feel that way about this perfume. Some days that opening is challenging for me. But I'm sure you're all aware by now that there has been a lot of talk over the last couple of years or 18 months or so about this smelling like lady parts. And I disagree. I don't I don't get anything like that at all. I get a really sweet fruitiness at the top that, you know, has that nuttiness. And this perfume has a lot going on. But for me, this is all about frankincense, this perfume. And I know everyone talks about the rose and all the other stuff that's in there, but this is frankincense to me, but with this sort of sweet, almost gourmand element laid over the top of it. And I think maybe once I'd smelled the frankincense, that's what cinched the deal for me on this perfume. And I absolutely fell head over heels in love with it. It's an interesting frankincense note because there is a hint of smokiness in this perfume, probably coming from other resins as well, quite frankly. But the frankincense in here has like a greenness about it, like a youthful, as though it's like underripe or something. You know what I mean? Like when you get a fruit that it's quite green still, it's not quite ripe, and it doesn't have that fleshiness or the sweetness associated with it. This does have sweetness because the sweetness has been added in. But when I'm detecting that frankincense in the base, it smells like a really clean, almost green frankincense resin. And yeah, I just find it, I just love it. I think it's great. And I don't get the reference to the, I don't. It's so interesting what people get, and it is so funny. And I still laugh whenever I hear somebody saying that that's what this smells like, because to me, it just doesn't smell anything like that. It's not where my mind goes at all. I don't even go to, in my last video where I kind of referenced this concept of boudoir-ish type perfumes and things that have a bit of an edge to them or a little bit of, like a skin-like undertone. This does not have any of that at all. I find this to be really clean smelling, actually, but not like laundry clean, but just it smells fresh, and it doesn't smell animalic or dirty at all to me. Anyway, so that is Guidance by Amouage. All right, so this is the second last bottle I'll talk about. I won't rabbit on so much about this one as I have the others, because in fact I haven't worn this in a very long time, but this is Stash by Sarah Jessica Parker. And this bottle is still pretty full. I mean, I bought this bottle in 2018 and I had a moment with it. I really loved it. And it was just as I was really starting to get into sharing my comments about perfume online, be it, I didn't have a YouTube channel then, I was either posting on Instagram, and I was also trying to start up a website, which I still have not done anything on for the last few months, but I will get back to it. In any case, this is a great perfume. This is a great sort of ambery, woody perfume. It kind of leans a little bit masculine, arguably, but I really, really love it. It's got a spiciness to it, but there's, I think, some citrus in the top that comes off a little bit sour. And I think that, coupled with the woodiness that's in here, people say that this smells like pickle juice. And I don't get pickle juice, but I kind of understand why they're getting it, even though it doesn't smell like pickle juice to me. And possibly that's because I've got European parents. I grew up eating pickles. I still eat pickles all the time. And, maybe my nose is a little bit more nuanced to the smell of pickle juice than the average person. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not saying that I'm any better at smelling pickle juice than anybody else. That would be weird. But I'm just saying that I don't necessarily get pickle juice, but I do know that some people, when they smell sandalwood notes or certain sandalwood notes, or maybe it's a certain aroma chemical that imitates sandalwood, they sort of feel like it smells a little bit pickly. And And that's fine. I'm happy to report I don't get pickle juice, but I think just coupled with the spices, the citruses and the woods in here, it does have a slight hint of something kind of a little bit sour almost, but it's not prominent to me and it certainly doesn't last. And every time I wear this perfume, not that I've worn it for a really long time, but when I was wearing it, every time I wore it, Matt loved it. So I probably should wear it again just for him, because the next perfume I'm about to talk about was very offensive to him. So I should maybe balance it out by trying to wear things that he does like from time to time. Anyway, that's Stash by Sarah Jessica Parker, sadly discontinued, but it was also such good value. The last perfume that I'm here to talk about is this one here by Frederic Malle. And when I said earlier that none of the negative comments had been given to me when I was wearing the perfume, I realised I was wrong, because this one did get a very severe negative reaction when I was wearing it. This is a travel size, obviously, but this is Iris Poudre by Frederic Malle. I happen to adore this perfume. It is quite big. I'm not wearing any perfume at the moment, so I'm going to put this on. It is quite a big perfume. It sort of opens almost a little bit shampoo-y to me. It's very kind of clean. It's an irisy perfume. It does become quite powdery, and Matt had a visceral reaction to this. He hated it. And in fact, I'd spritzed it on right before I went to bed, and he, if you can believe it, he actually scooted over in the bed to get away from me. He was like, "What are you wearing? That is disgusting." And I was really shocked. I thought, there's nothing disgusting about this perfume. He really, really hated it. He thought it smelled dirty, and I think the powderiness was too much for him. And yeah, anyway, I don't get what he was getting at all. I don't think it smells dirty. It has an earthiness to it, but it doesn't smell animalic or anything like that. And yeah, it's quite powdery. It's beautiful. But sadly, I cannot wear it around Matt because he really, really hates it. And, you know, it's very rare. It's very rare that Matt has anything negative to say about my perfumes. There's only one other time where he's commented on a perfume negatively, and I haven't put it in this list because it doesn't happen to be one that I love either. I was sampling it and I also did not like it, and that was Herba Pura. And he said that smelled like a house where a cat lady who had 100 cats had been living in, you know. He thought it smelled really pissy and sharp and sour and gross. And I probably don't agree with that either, other than I don't like Herba Pura just in general, but I didn't think it was that bad. But that was his description, that was his reaction to it. And sadly, he also does not like Iris Poudre by Frederic Malle. But thankfully, they're the only two that he's ever negatively reacted to. So out of hundreds of perfumes, he's doing okay. That's a wrap on this edition of perfumes that were almost ruined for me. I think I'm really tempted to do more of this video. I'm tempted to do it again and make a little bit of a series out of it. And as I say, it's very rare that I get negative comments on what I'm actually wearing, but I might start gathering up the negative feedback on perfumes that I talk about on Instagram or even on YouTube. But also I might start, it's dangerous to do it, but I might, occasionally maybe have a flick through Fragrantica and look at the perfumes that I love and wear and just see what other people have to say about them, because it is really funny actually if you go into Fragrantica and just, not so much base notes. I find base notes people are much more balanced in their commentary, and I think they do try not to say anything too inflammatory. But Fragrantica is just like, you get the best comments on Fragrantica in terms of people who have obviously got very good imaginations and like to convey that in their commentary on perfume. It's great. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me know if there's any perfumes in your wardrobe that have been ruined by negative comments or which were almost ruined for you. I'd love to hear about it. All right. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.